All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Uh, 4 videos up this week. Yep, 3 reviews, 1 impressions vid. Um, First game we're starting off today is a review, and it's going to be Lonely Mountains Snow Rider. Crash over and over until you master the mountain in this snowy follow-up to Lonely Mountains Downhill. By the by, I have tried skiing exactly once, and that's about how it went. I ended up enjoying myself much more at the lodge, drinking hot cocoa and falling asleep. Like, uh, anyway, now also including 2 to 8 person cross-platform multiplayer. I will also note we did not get the opportunity to try this out. Shouldn't affect things too much because, jumping ahead a little, this game isn't all that multiplayer focused. Put it to you this way, it's a nice side benefit, absolutely not the focus of the game. Work your way down the slopes together as a group, or risk it all in a breakneck race to the base. Right. So what we have here is a digital representation of one of the rarer depictions of fringe sports that I can think of, i.e., there are not a lot of skiing games out there throughout the history of video games. If I had to surmise, I would imagine the very first video game skiing game was Activision skiing on the 2600. Don't quote me on that. That's just the first one that came to mind. And arguably, this genre reached its apex with Ski Free. And no, there is no Yeti in this game. Also worth noting, the skiing here is downhill skiing. There is no cross-country skiing if you were looking for that. I don't think there's ever been a dedicated cross-country / biathlon skiing game. At best, it gets a mini-game representation in Olympic sports titles. Anyway, as far as how accurate it represents the sport in question, maybe more than you'd expect, given the fact that your skier is a little cube man, as in the head is literally a cube, which does kind of clash against the more realistic art style that the rest of the game's going for. Not too much, but it is noticeable nonetheless. And I'd have to say that the game feel is fairly arcadey. First of all, you're not worried about balance. You don't have to shift your weight on the skis or anything like that. Nothing that involved. And don't have to concern yourself too much with gravity when falling and jumping. The main factor there is speed, I'd say. That's going to be the determinant, minus tricks, because like any good extreme sports game, you can do tricks here. Granted, this is one of those occasions where doing tricks may not really be worth it outside of the mode dedicated to that. At least that's my estimation. Honestly, like, doing tricks in this game reminded me of like doing tricks in 1080 degrees snowboarding when it wasn't the half pipe. It's like, this feels okay. Like, okay, the score's a factor maybe, but like, this feels not as poignant as you may be wanting it to be. You know, it doesn't give me a boost, and it's a lot riskier. And honestly, there's not really much more to say about the mechanics. They are rather simple, though not as simple as they could be, given some of the representations we've seen over the years. Though this bit here this was my biggest problem with the game. Not anything to do with the mechanics, everything to do with the camera.
Yeah, I don't
because
like
you've
it
got
either.
because you got this pre-locked camera here, and sometimes it will go front facing off to the side, an angle you really don't want to be skiing at.
Yeah,
because I want to see what's in front of me so I can plan and course correct and shit.
Well,
and I can't do that, and this isn't fun.
This is the same issue. I played the downhill biking game when it was on Game Pass, and that's the reason why I dropped it. This camera is not fun.
Yeah, like this is artificial challenge at its worst.
Especially because the way the camera and the controls interact, it makes it too hard to be fun.
Yeah. Not the only problem with the game, but like this one was the killer for me. Like absolutely couldn't stand it when the game went front facing. Like I don't know if they were trying to simulate film, a skiing movie or disaster picture here or whatever, but it didn't work. When it's
something you switch to that mode, like in a cinematic, like after shot thing.
Yeah, that worked for replays, not for actual gameplay.
Right.
No, because like it's one thing if I can see the track and I don't make it, and that would be my fault. When I can't account for what's coming ahead, that's artificial difficulty. Because if I crash, that's because a tree came out of nowhere and I couldn't compensate for it. Mm-hmm. And that happened multiple times. I'm like, anyway, in terms of progression, the object is to get to the finish in a certain amount of time. And there are bonus awards for not getting under a certain amount of crashes, and also like a gold time / crash amount, which does help with the replayability. And you do get a lot of rewards for the in this game, and that actually ties into the big problem I had with progression. Everything is locked. Like everything except for one outfit, one board, one course, one game mode. That was too much.
And I guess my biggest problem is it's all cosmetic.
No, because they locked the fucking trick style behind progression. No, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That should have been unlocked from the start. Like that was going too far in a certain direction here. I should not have to play the quote unquote main mode to unlock the other main mode.
Mm-hmm.
So, locking a new hat, skis, all that stuff behind progression, that's fine. Even having one board available at the outset, that's more questionable. Usually games you'll be generous and have two choices. Mm-hmm. But not an unforgivable sin. Having trick style locked, no. That was one toke over the line. I can't. I've never seen that. Like a Tony Hawk game would not lock horse mode or what one of the side modes behind progression or time trials in a racing game. That's how fundamental that kind of thing is here. So, and yeah, I think that's about it. It's not the deepest or the most complicated game out there. Honestly, depending on how much of a perfectionist you are, you're probably going to see all of the base game in a few hours.
It's
the
very
real
much a Steam Deck title. Like I wouldn't want to try and play this on a mobile game or on a mobile system, but like if I had a Steam Deck, it would probably be something more for that.
Yeah, I could see it, but also, this is a game built around replaying, like learning the course over and over and over again until you master it. You get the run, and you can get the best time. It's pretty standard game design in these kind of titles. Like that kind of progression brings me back to like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, where you'd play a level over and over again until you got that perfect run, and then you try to top that. That's the kind of idea here, though obviously Snow Riders here is nowhere near the peak specimen that one of the good Tony Hawk games is. But I mean, I obviously want to play this more than say Ride or 5 or one of the really shit Tony Hawk games. Anyway, with that in mind, this game is on Game Pass, and honestly, I think that's the best way to play that, especially when taking into account the price. It's not pretty. This game is retailing for $25.
Ooh.
No.
Yeah.
Like I can't even be, sarcastic or jokey about this. Just a flat no.
You play it on Game Pass. If you absolutely love it, then sure. But if you don't,
10. Yeah. This $10, $15 at most, 25, absolutely not.
Right.
But, I guess the fortunate thing here is it's on Game Pass. So, and I guess another thing to note is it is getting regular updates. It's got a roadmap.
Is it just on PC and Game Pass, or is it on any other systems?
I want to say it's at least on Xbox if it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't feel like a title that would be restricted to the PC Game Pass only.
Yeah. I'm more talking like Switch, PlayStation.
Yeah. No, it's just on Xbox. Which once again, it's not that surprising if it's a Game Pass title. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. And it might also be like a timed exclusivity thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
I guess I should note we have not talked to the devs, so we don't know if that's like fact or gospel. That's just inference on our part.
Anyway, yeah, chalk this one up to let's call it a Game Pass rental.
Yeah.
I think
I wouldn't say
because
it alone is enough to make you fork up the money for even a month of Game Pass. But if you already have Game Pass, sure, go look at it.
Oh yeah, this isn't a driver of Game Pass, but that's why I say a Game Pass rental.
Yeah.
Anyway, so any other questions, comments, or concerns over Lonely Mountain Snow Riders?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right, then. So that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fang gives his impressions over Holy Shoot.